good, thank you.
I'll take you this way.
We're here to help. Southern Cross Community Housing is a community-based organisation. We have a professional board, we have a dedicated team of staff, and we are here to help solve the housing problems in our local communities.
Community housing was set up 30 years ago this year, and I was one of the people that was initially involved in that initiative. And although there were some forerunners like housing cooperatives in some places, this was when the Government of New South Wales formally adopted community housing as an alternative to public housing. Having choices of housing and having different community housing organisations really appeals to tenants. Unfortunately in Australia we have quite a small public housing system asked to do a very big job, and it's become quite marginalised and stigmatised. And tenants like the fact that their tenure's anonymous, that they're just like everybody else living in a market or in a community.
Before we got our community house, we lived in a caravan. And there was always the fear that the caravan park would be sold to developers and we'd have nowhere to live. And having a community house has given us some security now. We know we've got a house for life. And that's given us the opportunity to look at the community and see what we can do in the community now.
We got to the point where we felt that we would probably not be able to look after Laura and give her lifelong care if we couldn't get the equipment we needed. And to get the equipment we needed permanent residency.
Got in touch with Richmond Fellowship. I got referred to Richmond Fellowship, and through them they helped me secure accommodation with Southern Cross Community Housing. And we just they do groups, and we go to meetings and do luncheons, and I've met a few good people through the Richmond Fellowship too.
I think everyone has the problems I had. I was homeless, so the accommodation ain't too flash.
And I'm glad I'm in this place to talk about the nick of time, because the house has actually fallen down. It's riddled with white ants, borers, mice, and I'm so happy for the community housing that I'd moved in this place.
But I think the most important thing is that none of us really know when we're going to need that assistance, and any of us could need it. From my perspective, it's a very important part of community infrastructure like health or education is. Quite often, I think in my experience, tenants find a community housing provider like Southern Cross to be much more approachable and responsive to their needs as far as maintenance is concerned, resident participation in decisions, certainly in the review of decisions where they've got a problem and so on, in flexibility around allocations, particularly being responsive to special needs.
Our new homes that we're building, we aim to be the most sustainable that we can make them. We utilise our architects, quantity surveyors, town planners and the like to achieve the highest standard possible. We're a community housing organisation that's growing. We have over 1,000 properties, and they range from the Ulladulla, Bay Basin area, Nara, Narooma and right across to the Snowy Mountains.
What community housing also does, I think, is it enables people to have more disposable income to spend in the local community, to spend on goods and services, which is an economic benefit, but it also increases social inclusion.
We know that public housing has done a great job in many ways over all the years since the end of the Second World War. But we also know that it's a big government department, and with all of the fantastic work they do, they're limited by the fact that it's a very big organisation covering a whole state. It's hard to deliver responsive housing which really meets the needs of a community with the best will in the world if you're following the sort of broad rules which just have to apply if you're a big agency. So community housing has that first advantage. It's able to respond to what's needed in the place, knowing what's needed in the place.
It's the people that work there that make community housing what it is. I just found that they had empathy in all levels, not just housing, but welfare for my kids because they were going through a hell of a time. Welfare for myself, getting to know the infrastructure in Nara, the services, and liaison. I just then became a number. They actually spoke to me and rang me up and let me know where they were at, and which was made it the anxiety in going through that process and fighting for your custody of your kids. it made the burden less of a weight.
Southern Cross Community Housing inputs into the local economy of each of the cities and towns that it serves. It does this by contributing to the building industry, to the retail sector and to the local real estate sector as well.
Yes, we've been a contractor for the Southern Cross Community Housing for probably over 20 years now.
Community housing's given us the opportunity to raise our family in the town that we want to raise them in because of the consistency of the work and the professionalism of the people that we're dealing with. We know where we are and where we're up to with everything.
With the extra workload and the extra turnover, we've been able to employ an apprentice this year.
I was saying there before, we deal with the sawmill in Nowra and a colourboard shop down here as well, and hardware from around the area.
We've been able to stay in town and raise our kids there, which has been very important to us, and we have also been able to grow the business to a point where we can offer that to other families as well and offer them consistent work.
We were looking for steady work in the local area, and they're excellent bill payers, so it works out good for us too.
Well, it wasn't quite finished at the time, but when I opened the door and walked down to the hall, I just sat on the floor and I cried with such joy in being given the opportunity to move into a new unit.
Southern Cross community tenants often have beautiful gardens, and Southern Cross supports that initiative. By doing that, we find it a catalyst to bring people together around a common interest, and also helps those homes blend into the natural streetscape.
So in that way, going from renting, which is a nightmare, to here, to where you look at the yard, I can express myself to a certain extent, and that's freedom.
It's a partnership between a social landlord who is about supporting a person to make a home and to be secure in that home and to belong to a community, and an individual who uses that as a stepping off point to get control of their lives and to take up the opportunities that may be presented to them.
Well, now that I've got our housing issues sorted out, again, I can get carers in to care for Laura so that I can go back to work on a minimal hours, which gives me a social outlet, which is better for my self-esteem, so therefore it makes me a better person. It enables Rob to be able to go out to work part-time as well, and now he's made his own group of little friends. Without Southern Cross Community Housing helping us and listening to us and understanding our very complicated needs, we would not have been able to have these things, and I really do doubt whether Robert and I would have had the capabilities to continue giving Laura lifelong care, because we just couldn't have managed to do it. She would have been in an institution and we would have lost our only child. So Southern Cross Community Housing, thank you for giving us a life.
Well, why we came here today was to help Rotary with Driver Reviver, because they've assisted us at the Ritchie Street Unit Complex, which is owned by Southern Cross Community Housing, and we felt that we wanted to put something back into the community as residents.
I do Meals on Wheels once or twice a month, and the wife does Vinnie's twice a week. St Vincent's Paul just down the road, so between us, we're separated about 3 days a week, so that's probably just right.
Well, I joined the men's shed in Ulladulla. They do woodworking for men, but they also do projects they make toys for underprivileged children overseas, and they do work in the schools as well. So I'm giving something back to the community, I feel.
I had previously done some volunteer work at a nursing home, and here in Cooma I do volunteering at the local hostel, which is quite good. Work with the gentleman up there, and usually work one-on-one with them and make them more comfortable, happy to talk to me rather than the female staff, and we spend time together, and it's actually worked quite well.
Well, through community housing giving me that stability, and then I got custody of my sons, and they were fractured in a lot of ways, and it offered them stability, and through that we could move on.
Oh, it's been great. I can talk things out, talk about my experiences, from hospitals and medication and just other people that are in the same situation, that, you know, there is, you know, hope. And
I found out, as a father and parents should do, is find out all the opportunities they can for their kids, and I found out a scholarship.
You know, you can secure your own place and work at, you know, getting a job, or, you know, getting better and not, you know, suffering so many symptoms.
Yeah, he had to work hard, apply himself, and I pointed out, said he could have that in years to come if he applies his attitude, and they both did. And he got a scholarship at Knox Grammar last year, and Jared starts next year.
I work in aged care at the moment, and yeah, I'm studying to get a certificate in aged care at the same time.
Community housing in Australia is going through a very significant growth phase, sort of doubling every few years at the moment, and that's likely to continue, I think, because there has been so much success and because tenants are voting with their feet and saying that they're satisfied with community housing. So as the organisations expand, provided they keep that local flavour and that local engagement, they're going to have larger businesses, more revenue, a bigger asset base. All of that means they've got more capacity for making social investment.
I think overall community housing provides a very important and you know, a growing alternative for both social and also affordable housing, you know, in Australia, really.
At Southern Cross Community Housing, we believe we provide a vital service. Housing people in safe, secure, quality homes enables them to get on with their lives and play a productive part in their community. It also allows them to improve the quality of their health, provide stable education for their children, and play a positive role in their regional towns and cities. All of this not only benefits them, but all of us, by reducing demand for costly social support while positively adding to the local economy, building stronger communities for our future.